Don't Breathe is a horror movie that's dark, f***ed up, nasty, violent, and kind of insane. And if none of those words appeal to you, you won't like this movie. However, if you're a fan of horror movies and all those words sound like something you want to see in a movie, you'll probably love this movie. You masochistic pieces of shit. This is the second movie from a fairly new horror filmmaker, Fede Alvarez, who famously directed the Evil Dead remake. Yeah, you forgot about this, didn't you? Anyway, this is his second movie ever, all on his own, not a remake of anything. And he's really carving his style.
That's her guy.
Wait, is he blind?
Messed up to rob a blind guy, isn't it?
Just because he's blind don't mean he's insane, bro.
It's really hard to talk about this movie without comparing it to another recent horror movie that came out called Hush. Released on Netflix. Available now on Netflix. Is my hand in the shot? I can't even... Okay. Did I... That probably looked really stupid. Whereas Hush is a home invasion film about a deaf woman stuck in her house while a killer is outside trying to get in, Don't Breathe is about a bunch of kids trying to break into some blind guy's house, and it turns out he's a psychotic killer trying to kill them. Now, I know that Hush has a lot of supporters out there, and if you like the movie, that's fine. I personally felt that they missed quite a few opportunities to really do anything very interesting with the fact that the main character had this handicap. Don't Breathe, though, takes full advantage of that aspect. Because this character is blind, he has to try to tell where these kids are just from sound alone. So they have these moments where the camera goes really, really, really quiet. And he's just listening for creaks in the floorboard, and the main characters have to hold their breaths because they don't know what's gonna happen next. And if they breathe, he'll find them. That's why the title's called Don't Breathe. And for the most part, the film is a fairly straightforward home invasion horror film. That is until the third act. Then it gets kind of really silly in bizarrely dark ways. It devolves into a level of exploitation that I'm sure Edgar Rodriguez is kicking himself for not having thought of before. It's the sort of thing that you'd find in one of his Grindhouse movies. And it kind of comes out of nowhere. But the audience I was with, they were laughing at it almost kind of nervously because they weren't quite sure where the film was going to go with this or how far they were going to go with this. And I can forgive that also because the film really, really is very intense. And it's not just an exploitation film, it's a well-crafted thriller, just with some kind of f***ed up moments and a lot of violence.
Dad? It's me.
Now, one thing this movie gets right that I feel like a lot of modern day horror movies get wrong is you feel like there's a chance that the characters can actually get out of the situation alive. Otherwise, there's no tension. Because no matter how dark and how bleak and how nasty the movie gets, you always feel like there's a sliver of hope that they can get out alive, and that's all the audience needs to hang on, to get really invested in this movie. Even when the movie keeps pulling the rug out from under us and saying, nope, you thought that was an exit out that way, well, think again. And that's just really, really good horror filmmaking. That's also very important to the movie because there aren't really any likable characters in this film. There's assholes and psychopaths. And so you kind of feel compelled to feel for these assholes because they're being killed by someone even worse than they are. But because the film is so intense in this scenario, it kind of gets away with it, which surprised me because that's usually something that bothers me a lot in movies. And in this one, it didn't bother me so much. If you're a horror fan, I highly recommend checking this out. It's really a modern day take on the slasher film, but done by someone who actually cares about the genre and isn't just trying to make a quick buck. If you've seen Fede Alvarez's other film, Evil Dead, and you didn't like it, you might still like this one. I wasn't the biggest fan of his Evil Dead remake, but I really enjoyed this Don't Breathe a lot. And if you did like Evil Dead, you'll probably love this. And if you're not a horror fan, stay far, far away. And if you find any copies of this movie, just throw them in a ditch and bury it and light it on fire. If you want to know about what scares us here at Illiterates, here's a video that we did last Halloween about what we find frightening in movies. And you might be surprised at some of the movies we bring up, considering that I gave this movie a fairly positive review. Because we talk about violence in films, and you might be surprised at what we have to say about that. But you'll never know unless you click that video. Yeah, go ahead and click that video. You know you want to.
This is getting really creepy, too. We need to stop right here, because you're about to take us to the dark places in the internet.